What's good, YouTube? It's Justice I Used to Be Paying. Today I'm back with another video, and in this video I'm going to explain why Lil Uzi Vert's worst fear is coming true. But before I get into that, make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. It helps me out a ton. Now, when I say his biggest fear, obviously I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but I think that there's enough evidence to actually back what I'm saying, or at least enough to make people really think about it. So Uzi, to me, again, this is just kind of a little bit of a theory. He's had a little bit of a confidence issue recently with his projects, more and specifically with the project, The Pink Tape. But Uzi, over the last few projects, has always been a little bit shaken in his confidence in terms of how he moves after the album comes out. See, in my entire history of listening to Uzi's music, he hasn't missed on a project. He's had songs that I didn't like, but in terms of a full body of work, he hasn't really missed yet, up until Eternal Take 2, in my opinion, which is a miss, and that seems to kind of be the consensus take on the album. It's not that good in most people's opinions. But before that, even before Eternal Take 2, he has been kind of worried about dropping an album that wasn't 100% loved by the fans, wasn't something that was always taken in and everyone was just enjoying so much. Because whenever he would drop an album, over the last 3 albums now, he doesn't really follow up with it, with the marketing, with the pushing of the album, with interviews, all that stuff. He doesn't really follow up with it after the album comes out. It's like Uzi drops the album, and then not even a week later, it's like he wants us to forget about it, especially with the Pink Tape. The biggest example of this is music videos. None of the last 3 albums from Lil Uzi have had music videos, except for like the lead single. The lead single will have a music video, but besides that, nothing else typically ever has a music video, which is very strange. Like, of course you're not going to make a music video for every song, but at least a few of them typically have music videos when you drop an album and it's big and you've been working on it for years, especially something like the Pink Tape, which came years after Eternal Atake. So you would think, okay, they're going to record the music videos based off of which songs kind of do the best or whatever, but that didn't happen for the Pink Tape. It didn't happen. It didn't happen for Eternal Atake either. Now, Eternal Atake took place during COVID, so you could kind of explain that away with, okay, well, there was COVID going around, and he also couldn't go on tour for Eternal Atake, and that was a really big album. But it doesn't, I think Eternal Atake is the album where it kind of starts with this whole confidence thing, but I think the Pink Tape is really the biggest example, because the Pink Tape, after he dropped it, it was like he wanted us to forget about it immediately. Uzi dropped the Pink Tape and then just kind of stopped talking about it. It was really strange, because he dropped the album and he wasn't consistently posting about it on social media. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, check out the Pink Tape. Uzi wasn't posting people dancing to the Pink Tape. He wasn't, doing interviews about the Pink Tape. He did like one interview at his party where it was, the album party where it was being released. But besides that, he wasn't doing a whole bunch of media after he dropped the Pink Tape. And that was an album that was a little bit split in terms of the fans not really loving it all the way. I personally love that album. It's a great album in my opinion, but it wasn't universally loved like some of his other work. And it felt like he didn't really have any confidence in the Pink Tape, because not even a week after he put it out, he's already moved on from it and talking about dropping Love is Rage 3 or dropping...
What about Love is Rage 3?
Oh yeah, that's coming. Not too long. Like honestly, I know I used to be lying, but a couple months.
Barter 1600, which would have been his version of, Young Thug's Barter 6, which was Young Thug's version of the Carter albums from Lil Wayne. So not even a week into an album, Uzi's already starting to move on from it and start talking about other music and start recording and posting snippets from other music. He's also doing Young Thug cosplay. He's in the studio dressed like Thug right after he just dropped this major album, this album that people had been waiting on for 4 years. 4 years. People were waiting for a new, well, not 4 years, about 3 years. 3 or 4 years, something like that. People were waiting on a new album from Lil Uzi. And as soon as it comes out, he's already moved on to another project, highlighting another project, trying to promote another project. Less than a week later. That's not normal behavior. When it comes to an album from a major artist on a major label, after years of not dropping an album, they're going to consistently promote that thing, maybe even a month, 2 months after it comes out. It's not like okay, I dropped it, now my job is done. For most of these guys, especially when you have that big of a hiatus in between your albums, you're not just going to drop it and go run away and disappear. No, you're going to keep promoting it. You're going to go to Jimmy Fallon and perform one of the songs from the album. You're going to do a whole bunch of stuff after it comes out, because your job isn't done yet. Yeah, you put it out, but you still need to promote and market this thing. You didn't see Uzi after the Pink Tape doing a whole bunch of media promoting the Pink Tape, which is something that he had been apparently working on for a really long time. And that just doesn't make a lot of sense if you really have pride in your work and you really want to continue to get people to listen to it. If you're really proud of it. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't, but like, that makes sense, right? That's something that you can put in your mind and say, okay, if I was working on something for over a year and then I finally put it out, I wouldn't stop promoting it a week after it came out, right? That's not ridiculous for me to say. And also, he did have a tour for the Pink Tape, but this wasn't like a big time marketed tour in these huge venues. Like this was, there were big venues on the tour, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't highly marketed. It wasn't something that Uzi was posting about on his story. He wasn't posting, thank you, Toronto. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Oakland. This was a great show. Thank you, Houston. Like there wasn't a whole bunch of publicity surrounding this tour of the Pink Tape. It was kind of almost, it low-key felt like it was done in secrecy. Obviously, it's a public show, like duh. And I'm sure there was marketing in the local areas where the shows were, but it wasn't a big thing on social media. He wasn't joining people's streams like, hey, y'all, we going on tour. Y'all make sure. The Pink Tape for Uzi was kind of just like a drop it and just go away. It's kind of like when you're in college and you do a test last minute. You know you did terrible on the test. You didn't study for it. You turned it in at 11:59. You barely read half the questions, and you don't even check the grade because you know you bombed it. That's kind of how Uzi was moving with the Pink Tape. So it was clear as day that he wanted us to move on from it. He was posting snippets and stuff, and now Uzi's doing the exact same thing. There's already talks, rumors of other projects coming out after this one. There's already a video of him posting a snippet of new music on his Instagram. And it seems like that's kind of a pattern for Uzi when he's not feeling super confident about what he just put out. When the fans are split or the fans aren't liking it, he starts saying, oh, no, look over here. We're about to do this. Don't even worry about that album. Just throw it out the window. We about to do this. This is way better. I think that Eternal Atake 2 is really the first time in Uzi's career where you can say his album is a disappointment. And again, I love Uzi. I love everything he's put out up until this point, including the Pink Tape. Even though people were a little bit split on that album because he was doing other things, I wouldn't say that overall people looked at that album as a disappointment. But I think this one might be the first one where pretty much everyone's like, yeah, that kind of wasn't it. And I would agree with everyone. I'm not going to say that, oh, I disagree. I kind of agree. I feel the same way. But it was a disappointment on more than one front, and that being the quality and the numbers. And I'm going to speak about the numbers first just because that's the easiest thing. So it sold around 50K, 60K first week, which is kind of crazy for Uzi because Uzi just sold, I believe, around 160 for the Pink Tape. Eternal Atake almost sold 300K. He's always been one of the bigger names, at least over the last 5 to 6, 7 years now. At this point, he's always been one of the top dogs. So to see him only sell 60K first week is a step down. It's not like it's the end of the world. His career's done, but Uzi's a guy where you think of an Uzi project and you're like, okay, that's automatically at least 100K first week. Then we can start talking about numbers above 100K, but it only sold 60K first week. And I think that's just because there was no hype surrounding this. Eternal Atake 2 had no hype surrounding it until the very week when he started promoting it. And the time from promotion starting to the album coming out was only a week. But there was no hype and there was no rumors. See, just because there was a long time period in between the Pink Tape and when Eternal Atake 2 came out, that doesn't mean that necessarily there would be no hype just because it's a long period of time. Look at somebody like Cardi. Cardi hasn't dropped in 4 years now, but there's still a lot of hype for when he does drop. But for Uzi, there was no hype. There was no excitement. There were no people speaking of rumors. Oh my gosh, have you heard about what Uzi's going to do? What do you think Uzi's going to do? I'm so excited to see when Uzi comes back. There was no real anticipation for this project. The fear and concern of dropping an album that most fans don't like is one that all musicians probably have, but I think Uzi just has it on a different level because when you see somebody drop a project that's really bad, sometimes they'll just be like, whatever, they'll keep promoting it. Hey man, y'all, some of y'all don't like it, some of y'all do. My real fans love it, whatever. They'll continue to promote it. They won't really care about it, or they'll crash out on people for saying their music's trash and say, I've done this and this. How can you say you're a bum? You don't even, you live with your mom, you're a bum. How can you talk about my music? Like, there are different routes to take, and Uzi just tends to take the route of like stepping back and just trying to move on immediately, which honestly isn't a bad thing necessarily, because like, what's the point of just sitting there and sulking and being sad that people don't like what you did? Just go and try again, I guess. Like, that makes sense. But Uzi just didn't really set this album up for success in two ways, mostly one way, and that's the numbers side of things in terms of the impact of this album, in terms of the popularity. It really wasn't set up for success. And then obviously the quality isn't up to par in most people's opinions. But In terms of the numbers, I could speak about that first. It didn't really do too hot first week. It sold like 59, 60K first week, which is really low for Uzi, because when Uzi drops, he's a guy that you pretty much pencil in for like 100K. He's just been that big of a name over the last 5, 6, 7 years where it's like, if Uzi's dropping an album, you have to start your predictions for the first week sales at least at like 120 and then go up. Anything below 120 would be you lowballing him. People just weren't really too hyped for another Uzi project. I think that's partially because a lot of people were a little bit split on the Pink Tape. Some people liked it, some people didn't, but overall, people were just kind of satisfied in terms of what they've gotten from Uzi recently. So there wasn't really any anticipation building into this album. The only thing that I saw about Eternal Take Two before he dropped that trailer video was like a video of him getting interviewed on the street, and he said, I gotta drop Eternal Take, like I gotta hurry up and drop this. And people thought he was tweaking. People thought he was like high or on drugs or something, when really he was just talking about Eternal Take Two. So there was no anticipation. There were no rumors. Nobody was getting hyped about this album before it came. So already with the rollout of this album, Uzi was going to have to start from a hype level of like around 0, let's say on a scale of 0 to 100, around 0 to 10, nothing too crazy. But the rollout came so fast, it didn't even give us time to be anticipated. If we were already waiting on this album and then the rollout came and it was about a week span, people wouldn't have cared that the rollout was so short. They would have just been excited they were getting the album, kind of like what happened with Tyler, the Creator's Chromacopia. The rollout for that album was only like a week and a half long, but people were so ready for another Tyler album that it didn't matter how short the rollout was. They just wanted the music. But with Uzi, the rollout being so short and there not being a lot of anticipation before that kind of cut what he was going to be able to get in his first week, because the rollout was the trailers, and that was honestly about it. There was no lead single with a huge budget behind it. There was no music video 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, before the album came out. There wasn't him doing a whole bunch of interviews, doing an interview circuit, going on the Breakfast Club, going here, going there. He performed at the BET Awards last time before he dropped the Pink Tape. That wasn't even there for this album. So this album didn't really have any rollout whatsoever. The biggest thing that he did for his marketing and promotion was going on Kai Cenat's stream, I believe the day the album actually came out. So it was just kind of like, here's the trailer, Eternal Take Two, here's the date. Okay, now it's on Apple Music. Okay, here's the track list. Now it's here. And then boom, the album comes out. There was nothing to really get people excited. There was no match to light on a trail of gasoline to get people going, oh my gosh, Uzi's dropping. Oh my gosh, oh my God. Like, it just kind of happened. The rollout was so quick that nobody even got the chance to react to it, especially in the shadow of what Tyler, the Creator, has been doing with Chromacopia, one of the biggest albums in music. It just kind of happened so fast. Everyone was looking over here at Chromacopia, and then it's like, hey, by the way, Uzi's here. It's like, oh yeah, Uzi's here. Okay, yeah, oh, Chromacopia. Damn, he dropped. Oh, okay, let me go listen to it. Like, it just kind of happened. Then specifically to speak on the quality of the music, in my opinion, I think around 50% of this album is kind of rough. Around 50% really just didn't do it for me. I think that the album kind of starts off strong, but that like top towards middle portion of the album is really rough, starting with Meteor Man. That song is really, really bad. And it's just a run of songs that really are very uninteresting. The Big Time Rush song, just a lot of stuff that's just like, oh, okay, this is here. And honestly, if I wasn't somebody who made music content on TikTok, on YouTube, and all that, I probably wouldn't have finished the album, because there was just a certain run of songs where I'm just like, dude, what is this? Like, the middle of the album was very rough to me. There was some stuff at the end, and there's some stuff at the beginning, and there's some stuff, maybe sprinkled in there. The album's not completely trash. Not every song on the album is bad. I think there's some good stuff in here, but around half of it is a miss. And for Uzi, that's a shocker to me. Uzi at most has like maybe 2 or 3 songs on an album that you can skip. Not even bad songs that you can just skip, in my opinion. I've been a big Uzi fan for years. Most of the time, there's maybe a few tracks where I'm like, I'm just not that fond of it. But on this album, there was a handful of tracks where I'm just like, this isn't good. And to me, some of the songs felt like a really bad impersonation of what Chief Keef is doing right now. And I'm not trying to say that to be disrespectful. I'm just giving my take, right? I'm not trying to disrespect Uzi or anything of the sort. I love the guy. But this stuff just really wasn't it to me. It just really didn't hit. It also kind of felt like he was trying to keep up with what's new. It was like he was going for that like Unc still got it meme where the dude is like jumping over the jump rope on his butt. It kind of felt like he was going for the Unc still got it meme. And, you know, people were posting stuff like, when your goat is washed, or, you know, McQueen is fading or whatever. And I won't sit up here and say that Uzi's washed because he had one bad project. I think that's a little ridiculous, but that's kind of the standard you get held to when you've had such a good discography like Uzi has had up until this point. But overall, just the music on the album really didn't meet the level of quality that we're expecting or that we're used to with Uzi. So I think that may have played a factor into why so many people are kind of fading away from this album. I think a lot of people kind of agree with me in the sense that a lot of this project really isn't good. There's some stuff on here that I like. There are. It's not completely trash, but it really misses the mark in terms of quality. And as corny as this is going to sound for me to say as a grown man, I do believe that Uzi has lost a little bit of his aura. I think that he's just not as intriguing to the people anymore. And that's kind of reflected in the numbers, right? He's just not as intriguing as a character, as an artist. I think he kind of feels like, you know, any other guy at this point. I'm not trying to say that to, again, be disrespectful. That's just my analysis on the situation, especially when you compare the reactions and the overall feel of his rollout in comparison to Chromacopia, because they were around the same time span, the same length, but Chromacopia just felt so special going into it. Tyler has a massive aura surrounding him. That era that he literally took us through in a span of a week it was really big. It was a big impact. Everyone was feeling it. Even if you're not a big Tyler the Creator guy, you had academics and Joe Budden talking about Tyler the Creator for longer than a sentence. Those guys don't talk about Tyler the Creator. So that goes to show he was really impacting and infecting the culture with his era, that Chromacopia era. It was felt, even though it was only like a week and a half. And Uzi on his own, that Eternal Atake rollout didn't really have that aura, it didn't have that feeling around it, and it had to follow Chromacopia. So not only was it not feeling very special anyway, it just had to follow something that felt incredibly special. So it was in a really bad spot for Uzi. This album coming out right after Chromacopia was really a kind of a bad idea, in my opinion. And also in terms of on a musical front with his aura, it doesn't feel like he's doing his own thing right now, and it's different. The entirety of Uzi's career, he's been known to, okay, that's a guy that's going to do his own thing, and it's going to feel a little different. It may sound like some stuff other people are doing, you know, he takes influence from Future and Thug, but at the end of the day, it's going to be different. That wasn't there on this album. I didn't listen to this album and go, man, Uzi's different. There were some songs that were good. There was good music on here, but I didn't feel like he was sticking out. It didn't feel like he was sticking out like he normally does. He didn't feel as special as he normally does. And I also have to address this because if I don't, I feel like I'd be missing a big piece of this pie. A lot of people are saying that Eternal Atake was bad, or Eternal Atake 2 was bad because it was a throwaway, because he was just throwing away songs and putting out an album to get out of his contract with Atlantic, which he's still in to this day. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I can't confirm that. I can't deny that. But I do have to at least address that that's a rumor out there, that this album is bad because Uzi just kind of threw it out there to hurry up and get out of his contract. And that's why he's not promoting it. That's why he's not doing this. That's why he's not doing that. But if people are starting those rumors and they turn out to not have any substance, that's a really bad look. Because that means that the album was bad enough to where people just started coping and trying to find reasons for why it's like this, and not just being like, dang, he just kind of missed here. But right now, we're seeing this trend of Uzi having that kind of lack of confidence with his projects continue. There are no music videos, besides Chill Bay, I believe, for anything on Eternal Take 2. There's no music videos. Have you heard Uzi talk about it? Have you seen him do an interview? Have you seen him post about the album recently? Probably not. We might get a tour from this. I think we will. But it's not going to be this highly touted thing where everyone's talking about it, everyone's posting about it. It's just kind of going to happen. It's just going to go down. And when you talk to Uzi, or when somebody catches him, I guarantee you he's going to start talking about other music, because that's what he did with the Pink Tape. It's just a strange kind of thing that I've noticed about Uzi. He doesn't promote his albums a week after they come out, and that's not a mistake. Not even a week. As soon as they come out, he's pretty much done promoting it. He did the stream with Kai, but that's been about it. That was the night it came out, or the day it came out. Besides after the day he drops it, it's over, bruh. He's talking about something else. Love is Rage 3 on the way. Barter 16 on the way. I guarantee you Well, I can't say I guarantee you, but I think if you really pay attention to what Uzi's doing and you read between the lines, I don't think that he's very proud of this album, and I think that he's trying to move on from it. And I think that that was kind of the case for the Pink Tape as well, and maybe even a little bit for Eternal Atake, even though I think that's a great album and most people do. I think that Uzi struggles a little bit with confidence and doesn't want that album to be the kind of last taste in everyone's mouth about him until he comes with something else. It's kind of like when you're playing the game with your friends and you're playing 2K, you're like, all right, we can't end on a loss, bro. We got to lose or we got to quit on a win. We got to turn it off on a win. And you lose and you lose and you lose. And you're like, all right, reboot, run it up. Nah, bro, keep running it back. And the other guy's like, hey, bro, it's 1:30 in the morning, bro. I got work in the morning. Nah, bro, come on. We can't end on a loss. Just forget that last game. Come on, let's go. Reboot it. Come on, run it. That's kind of how I feel Uzi's been doing his last few projects. And I think that this is the first one where that concern, that real lack of confidence might be a little warranted. This album in particular. I don't think the other ones, I think those were great projects in my opinion. I don't care what anyone says. But this one might have been the one that actually was a miss, was disappointing, was something where I kind of understand where you just drop it less than a week after. This was the one where that fear of the album coming out and it not being good and people clowning you kind of got actualized for Uzi, at least in my opinion. I don't think this has ever happened to him before, where an album has come out and everyone pretty much agrees that it's not that good. So I think that this is something he's been worried about. I think that he's been moving in this way for years now, but this is the first time where it's actually kind of warranted. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you agree. Maybe you disagree. I don't know. I just think it's weird how quickly Uzi moves on from his projects in comparison to pretty much everyone else. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. If you agree, if you disagree, leave a like down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm a genius. Tell me why I'm so stupid and this was the best Uzi project he's ever dropped. But if you made it this far, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. Make sure you have a good day. Be safe. Be blessed. I go by the name of Pay. Peace.